There is one question MMA fans ask again and again. Why do UFC fighters keep fighting too long? Why does a legend keep coming back after the speed is gone? Why does a former champion keep taking damage when they have already proved everything? Why does a fighter risk their legacy, their health, and their reputation just for one more walk to the cage? The easy answer is money, but the real answer is much darker than that. Because for some fighters, the cage is not just where they compete, it is where they feel alive. Welcome back to the Rear Naked Choke. No fluff, no filler, just straight to the point MMA talk. And today, we're talking about one of the hardest truths in combat sports, why UFC fighters keep fighting too long. So let's get straight into it. For most people, retirement sounds peaceful. No more pressure, no more injuries, no more weight cuts, no more punches to the head. But for a fighter, retirement can feel like losing their identity, because for years, sometimes decades, their entire life has been built around one question: who am I fighting next? Every morning has a purpose. Every meal matters. Every training session matters. Every run, every sparring round, every injury, every sacrifice. It is all connected to a date on the calendar, fight night. Then one day, that date disappears. No opponent, no camp, no crowd, no walkout, no adrenaline, no mission, and suddenly, the fighter has to wake up as a normal person. That sounds simple. But for someone who has spent their whole life chasing violence, glory, respect, and survival, normal can feel empty. That is the first reason fighters keep coming back. They miss the purpose, not just the fighting, the purpose. They miss having a reason to suffer. They miss the structure. They miss the feeling that every day is building towards something massive. And when that disappears, some fighters do not feel free, they feel lost. That is why you see legends return when fans think they should stay retired. Because retirement is not just walking away from a job, it is walking away from who they believe they are. And that is a terrifying thing. The second reason is ego. And in fighting, ego is complicated. You need ego to become great. You need to believe you can beat dangerous people. You need to believe you are different. You need to believe you can survive pain that would break most people. That mindset creates champions, but later in a career, that same mindset can destroy them, because the fighter still remembers who they were. They remember the knockouts, the title wins, the crowd screaming their name, the nights when they felt untouchable, but their body is not the same anymore. The reflexes are slower, the chin is weaker, the injuries stack up, the recovery takes longer, but in their mind, they are still that same killer. And that is where it becomes dangerous, because the fighter is not just fighting the opponent, they are fighting time, and time is undefeated. Fans can see when a fighter is slipping, coaches can see it, opponents can see it, but sometimes the fighter is the last person to accept it, because accepting it means admitting that the version of themselves they loved most is gone. That is painful. So instead of walking away, they say, one more fight, one more camp, one more win, one more chance to prove I still have it, and sometimes they do still have flashes. That is what makes it even harder. A veteran can still land one big shot, they can still have one good round, they can still look dangerous for a moment, and that moment keeps the dream alive. But MMA is not fought in moments, it is fought over rounds, against younger, faster, hungrier fighters who are trying to build their name off yours. That is the cruel part. Eventually legends become opportunities. A young fighter looks across the cage and does not see your legacy. They see a shortcut, they see a famous name, they see a highlight, they see a way to become relevant overnight. And that is when fighting too long becomes brutal, because the same name that once created fear now attracts predators. The third reason is addiction, not drugs, not alcohol. The addiction to the feeling. Fight week is unlike anything else. The nerves, the cameras, the interviews, the weight cut, the stare down, the walkout, the moment the cage door closes. For most people, that would be terrifying. For fighters, it becomes a drug. There is no normal life experience that replaces that. You cannot recreate it at home. You cannot recreate it in business. You cannot recreate it on a podcast. Thousands of people screaming while you walk toward another trained killer. That is not normal adrenaline. That is something most humans will never feel. So when it is gone, everything else can feel quiet. Too quiet. That is why some fighters struggle after retirement. They are not just missing competition, they are missing intensity, they are missing chaos, they are missing danger, and when your brain has been wired for war, peace can feel uncomfortable. That is why some fighters keep fighting even when they do not need to. They are chasing the feeling. The fourth reason is money, and yes, money matters. Some fighters made millions, but many did not. And even the ones who made good money may have families, teams, businesses, taxes, injuries, and lifestyles that cost a lot to maintain. When fighting has been your main skill for your entire adult life, walking away is not always easy, because what comes next? Coaching, commentary, business, acting, podcasting. Some fighters make the transition, others do not, and if a promoter offers them a big check for one more fight, it is hard to say no, especially when they still believe they can win. That is how fighters get pulled back in. A big name, a big offer, a big arena, a chance to feel young again. But the problem is, the check clears after the fight. The damage can last forever. That is the part fans sometimes forget. We talk about legacy, we talk about rankings, we talk about knockouts, but these are real people taking real damage, and the longer someone fights past their best years, the more dangerous it becomes, not just physically. Mentally too, because losing late in a career hits differently. When a young fighter loses, they can rebuild. When an older legend loses, fans start saying they are finished, they start comparing them to their prime, they start using them as a warning. They say, he should have retired years ago. And that is one of the saddest things in MMA. A fighter can give fans legendary moments for 10 years, but if they stay too long, some people only remember the ending, the knockouts, the losing streak, the slow version, the version that should not have been in there anymore. That is not fair, but it happens. Because MMA fans respect greatness, but they are also quick to move on. So why do fighters keep fighting too long? Because fighting gave them everything. Their identity, their purpose, their money, their confidence, their fame, their respect, their reason to wake up. And walking away from that is harder than most fans will ever understand. It is easy for us to say, just retire. But for the fighter, retirement can feel like death before death, the death of the warrior, the death of the crowd, the death of the mission, the death of the person they spent their whole life becoming. That is why so many fighters come back, even when they should not, even when their body is telling them no, even when the fans are begging them to stop, because deep down, they are still chasing one more night where they feel like themselves again. But now I want to hear from you. Which UFC fighter stayed too long? And which fighter retired at the perfect time? Drop your answers in the comments, because this one could start a serious debate. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the Rear Naked Choke, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next MMA breakdown.